Hey y'all, Rob here with ATX Legal, here with part 7 of the Assault Family Violence Guide for 2023. And in this part, I'm going to be talking about felony assault family violence. If you're charged with a felony, it's going to be a little bit more serious. The stakes are a little bit higher, and you have to be extra careful. If you have been charged with a felony, watch this video, that's fine, but you really do need to contact an attorney as soon as possible. Get a consultation. We offer free consultations here. A lot of other criminal attorneys offer free consultations. So if you are facing felony charges, I would say get ahead of it. Talk to an attorney as soon as you can. Now, there are several ways that a case can be enhanced to the felony level, and I'm going to be talking about each of those in turn. The first way is going to be if it's an impede breath case, so you can think of this as a strangulation case. If a person is charged with impeding breath, applying forcible pressure to the throat that causes the person to be unable to breathe, that's going to be a strangulation case, and it will be bumped up to a third-degree felony. Maximum jail sentence on a third-degree felony is 2 to 10 years, up from only a 1 year from a Class A misdemeanor, so it's a big deal if you get this enhancement. Also, you're just going to be moved into district court, dealing with different prosecutors, different judges, and it's just going to be a lot more serious. Now, the reason that they enhance these cases is that in what's called the cycle of violence, studies have shown that when strangulation is involved, there is a higher % chance that it will end in death, and that's why these cases are taken more seriously. But in my experience as a defense attorney, I have seen that these strangulation cases are overcharged. The police kind of hint to the complaining witness and say, hey, was he strangling? Or did he put his hand at all near your throat? And if they say yes at all, they're going to enhance that case to a strangulation case. So it's very important to look at the actual evidence. Is there real bruising? Was that bruising caused by the accused, or was it caused by something else? There's a lot of things to look at when it comes to strangulation cases because they are overcharged. But when it is charged as a strangulation, it does up the seriousness of the case. The second way it can be bumped up to a third-degree felony is if you have previous family violence convictions, or if you have another charge within the last 12 months, and that's known as continuous family violence. So if you have a previous family violence conviction with that family violence finding, which we talked about in another video, the next charge is going to be automatically bumped up to a felony. They're not going to look at the seriousness of the charge. They're not going to say, hey, was there mitigating factors here? If you're charged with a new family violence case and you have a previous one, it's automatically bumped up to a felony. The other way this applies is if you had another charge within the last 12 months. Let's say you have a pending case. There's not a conviction in that case, but it's ongoing, and you get a new misdemeanor charge. Well, now they can charge it as a continuous family violence case if those two events happened in the last 12 months, and that bumps it up to a felony as well. Now, they have to prove each incident individually. So if one of them has weaker evidence than the other, it's going to be very important to attack the case that has the weak evidence, because if they can't prove both incidents, they cannot charge it as a felony. So that's an important thing to look into when charged with continuous family violence. And the last way it will be enhanced to a felony is if you're charged with aggravated domestic assault. This would be if you cause what's called serious bodily injury, and you can think of that as injury that could lead to death or loss of limbs, very, very serious injuries, or if you used a deadly weapon. Deadly weapon obviously could be a gun or a knife, could also be a vehicle, and that deadly weapon finding is going to enhance it to a first-degree felony. All the others we were talking about are third-degree felonies, but with aggravated domestic assault, it's a first-degree felony with a maximum jail sentence of up to 99 years, so obviously very serious, but those cases are going to be very different on a case-by-case basis. If you just flashed a knife, that's going to be very different than if you fired a gun, if you tried to run someone over with your car. So those are going to be very different situations on a case-by-case basis, but they are charged as first-degree felonies. And keep in mind that courts have found that a lot of things can be a deadly weapon. There have been air rifles. Anything that could potentially cause death, even if you don't think of it as a deadly weapon, could count as a deadly weapon for the purpose of the aggravated assault statute. When handling felony domestic violence cases, I really handle them in a very similar way to the misdemeanor cases. We're still asking the prosecutor to prove up their case. We're forcing them to look hard at the evidence. And if they can't prove up their case, it leads to a dismissal just like the misdemeanors do. But the stakes are higher, so you do have to weigh those additional consequences when coming into plea negotiations, and consider the fact that jail time and maybe extended jail time really is on the table here. And conduct your plea negotiations accordingly. Of course, this has not been legal advice, but if you do need legal advice on your particular case, if you have been charged with a felony, it's important to get in touch with an attorney right away. You can always visit us at atx.legal to set up a consultation.